Welcome to Your Best Bets. Episode 179 is upon us. We've been talking lately on the show that the obviously spring is coming. It's imminent. Huge week this week. We have the Players Championship. NFL free agency is hitting hard. I'm looking out for my Bears. What move they're going to make next? When Justin Fields going to be traded? Uh, NCAA tournament is upon us, but really the thing I'm most excited about is Fort Wayne golf, and it's coming. And we have a tournament on the schedule at some point at the end of this month, and we'll get to that by the end of March. And it's the Three Rivers Golf Tour, and I'm so excited to have a couple guys from that tour tonight, along with my usual co-host Zach Fitzgerald. So I'm going to introduce Zach first. Zach, how are you?
I'm great. I'm hearing that Antonio Brown has predicted that the Bears are now going to trade the first round pick and keep Justin Fields. That's the same Antonio Brown that predicted Russell Wilson to the Steelers a day early. So I guess you guys are about to make a mistake. But I'm looking forward to the show a lot and talking about the Three Rivers. It means a lot to me. It's tournaments that I've played in throughout my life since they've started, and excited to have the two guys on that we have on.
Before we get to that, sir, are you telling me Antonio Brown is the new Adam Schefter?
I'm just telling you that I saw that on Facebook about 30 minutes before we came on, and I was so excited to talk to you about it. Uh,
Yeah.
I can't say that my faith in anything Antonio Brown says is 100%, but if he is right about that, then we can add prognosticator to the list of his credits.
I'm very confident that he's incorrect about that one, but we'll see how that plays out, Zach. Joining from the Three Rivers Tour, we have the founder. How else can I intro him? Longtime friend of mine. We go way back to fantasy football, way back in the mid 2000s, I think, early, late 2000s. Also a frequent guest, not a recent guest, but he's back tonight. Mark Beneke. Welcome back, Mark.
Thank you, Phil. Couldn't be more excited to be with you, be with three people that I call good friends, and I'm happy to be on. I think pre-show to let your listeners under the hood, so to speak. I feel honored. I remember your first year. You started Your Best Bet in 2020, and showing a lot of staying power, and I remember those early episodes. So it's neat to kind of come full circle 4 years later and be on talking about the tour. So thanks for having me.
I believe you were on episode 3 or 4 talking about the NFL, and those were some interesting times. But appreciate you staying a part of the scene for now, year 4. Last part of the panel here, first time guest, maybe long time, first time, long time. I don't know. I don't know how often Brandon listens, but also new board member on the Three Rivers Golf Tour, Brandon Belville. What's up?
Hey, how's it going? Pleasure to be here. I am a longtime listener. I don't follow sports other than golf much, but I do know golf, and I'm happy to be here. And I'm super jealous of Zach's beard. So, yeah.
Well, and
That's all I got.
by extension, your dad has been on probably 6 or 7 times. So
Well,
it's
my dad is a lot cooler. My dad is cooler with my friends than I am with my friends. So, yeah. I mean, I don't really know what to say about that.
I mean, a lot of us are the same people. A lot of us that are your friends are your dad's friends as well. So, I mean,
Yeah.
really, it's kind of meshed into where everybody's everybody's friends. So,
Yeah.
yeah, we all love your dad as well.
all right, guys. We're here to talk about the Three Rivers Golf Tour. Mark, correct me. Is this year 7?
Yes, this is year 7. We began operations in March of 2017. So year 7.
It's season 8.
Season 8. Thanks, Brandon. Math was never my strong suit. But no, yeah. So season number 8. Just a lot. Again, it's great to have a forum to come on and discuss, especially with such I think you're following Phil. It's wide. There's a lot of different folks that tune in, but your show has always kind of been connected to Fort Wayne Golf just because of who you are, who your co-host is. So I'm excited to chat about season 8. We're just continuing to experience positive momentum. And I look forward to kind of talking about that. Let Brandon obviously um, say his piece, but ultimately, just positive. Trent Nielsen, who's also been in this from day one, he has done a fantastic job. We have a lot of returning sponsors, a lot of new sponsors. So, the support that we have received from not just the golf community, but kind of the sporting community, so to speak, in Fort Wayne. It's I sound like a broken record, but I'm truly uh, dumbfounded's the wrong word, right? Because I know there's been hard work that's went into this, and I know there has been a lot of thought, a lot of hours. So I shouldn't say I'm surprised, but at the end of the day, you kind of have to pinch yourself when you're in my position, um, just to realize, uh, how much this tour has meant, right? And so it's really exciting.
Brandon, you want to add on to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a testament to what Mark and Trent have done as far as this being, other than the FWGA, the second longest running tour in Northeast Indiana. And I mean, the entire point was never to compete with anybody else, i.e., the FWGA, but only to add more competitive golf in the area. And I think, you know, everybody, well, not everybody, a lot of guys that play on the Three Rivers Tour play in the FWGA events, and a lot of guys that play in FWGA play on Three Rivers. And all we're trying to do is add more competitive golf and opportunity for people in Northeast Indiana and surrounding areas to have that opportunity. So I'm really looking forward to this season and all the things we have in store.
I think we're going to do the mutual love thing here. You were talking about the podcast here, Mark, to start off. So props to you guys, and props, Mark, to your vision really coming to just as you said, it just kind of keeps building and building year after year, and kind of fulfilling your vision and what you set out to do, which was not to compete with the FWGA, which was just to add more opportunities for people to play competitively, and really to complement the other tour that's been around for quite a while, right? And you guys have done a really nice job at that. And I'd like to hit on that a little bit later. Um, I guess going into 2024, I got a lot of questions I want to get to, and I know Zach does as well. But just what's your process from when you get to the end of 23 or the previous season, right? And say it's October, November, and what does that process look like for what did it look like this last off season? Prepping for this season, like is there full
Yeah.
evaluation of what's working, what you guys need to fine tune and tweak, and how does that look, that process over the last 3-4 months?
Yeah. So, great question. I would say this, Phil. So, what we do is at the end of each competitive season, obviously, the guys, for one, they kind of put to bed all the statistics. Since we implemented the Three Rivers Tour Handicap, those are finalized. And then, I would say it's safe to say that we have, a little bit of an off season where we kind of decompress. Although they are only there's one tournament per month, it's still a lot of work and a lot of just a lot of behind the scenes stuff that folks I don't think, not from a standpoint that they don't care, they just don't see all of the work. So we go through a process where I'd say the first step is to decompress, but then we meet as a group. We something that we've always tried to do is have new voices, whether it's Brandon this year or Scott Sherman this year is helping out. We try and get different voices just to hear what is working and what is not. So that's exactly what we do. We look at what we've done well, where we need to improve. Lord knows there's always things we can improve, right? But that is I would say the bulk of our off season outside of planning the schedule. We start contacting golf courses, working with local golf professionals or general managers, owners, what have you, to develop our schedule. And then around the first of the year, schedule comes into full focus. We dial in exact dates. We've been fortunate to work with a lot of golf courses that we return to. So we kind of have, I would say, I don't want to say locked in slots in their schedule, but we do try and play similar courses, year to year in the same month. But I would say the majority of our off season is just talking, a lot of conversation, a lot of activity in our group text. We have a group text amongst the team, and it's active, man. No joke, all hours of the day, 7 days a week, seemingly. So there's a lot of dialogue that occurs, lots of communication, some friendly banter, about sports or whatever, but we tend to, always kind of revert back to what can we do to enrich the experience of our players ultimately, and that's our goal.
I'm sure it takes a lot to run a tour, build an upcoming season, right? So I mean, I don't take that lightly. From what it sounds like, there's a lot of behind the scenes discussion, like you said, day after day, ongoing kind of planning and who's handling this and who's handling that. I'm sure that takes place. So, I think it's reassuring for, our listeners, but also the guys that play in these events to know that you guys are constantly trying to, evaluate and determine what's best and how do we get better and things of that nature. Fitzgerald, you got anything you want to jump in yet, or are you just going to let me talk?
No, absolutely. I got some things written down here while everybody was discussing, and I kind of wanted to talk about. I remember when the tour first started. Um, you were getting a lot of the people that the Fort Wayne Golf Association wasn't getting because of your net model. And I think that really helped the tour progress. And now you're kind of seeing a lot of the same people that are playing in the gross divisions of the Fort Wayne Golf Association start to come over and play your models. And it's pretty crazy how the tour's grown. So much so that now, it seems like you guys have kind of a relationship slash partnership with the Fort Wayne Golf Association, and you guys now are fostering one of my favorite tournaments the entire year in Little City. And when I heard that, I was extremely excited. I'm just kind of interested in hearing how the process of that came about. If you guys were asked, or if you guys asked to take that over. I'm just That's one of my favorite tournaments, and I'm super excited about it. So I'm just interested how that came to be.
Was that a head scratch, Mark?
Yeah, I cut my hair and I kind of missed a spot there. I don't know if you can tell. I still have a little hair left. Thanks, Brandon.
I was going to say,
Well,
you have a similar haircut.
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, that was offered through Trent, by Straley, for us to have a partnership with them, but for the most part, take it over. And they were so gracious and willing, even with our new format, to allow city exemptions through that tournament. And I think it's super cool, even with our new format, as far as the three divisions go, that the winners of the, I guess it would be 6.0 to 12.9 and the 13 to 18 division having an exemption into the city tournament, and also the top three in the 0 to 5.9 division having exemptions into city. So that's something that we're super excited about, that we're not taking for granted. And also want to take note that this year, with our first year running it, will be the 50th playing of the Little City Tournament.
Yeah. If I could add to that quickly, Phil, I don't really have anything in specific, but just kind of some more general commentary. I think from our standpoint, this is something that we talked about in our January meeting when we got together as a team. I'd be lying if I said there wasn't a lot of pride there, right? Obviously, um, there's pride in, like what Zach said, from where we started. We started 16 players that day at Lakeside in March of 2017. And just to remain consistent, not that we are where we want to be yet, but just knowing that we have kind of consistently provided tournaments that the community has supported to the point that we are acknowledged by, I don't want to sit here and play coy and say that, oh my gosh, thanks for acknowledging us. But at the end of the day, it was very, a lot of pride, I think. And not only for me, but guys like, even like Fitz, like Zach, you've been there from day one. And I think what's neat about our tour, it has always been, uh, again, I'm not saying it's always been perfect, right? But this tour has been about golfers in Fort Wayne that love the game and love to compete, right? So like when we find out that we've been offered this opportunity to host Little City, not only is it a point of pride from us, but I think a lot of players that have supported this tour from day one, I think they also take great pride in that. And the last thing I'll say, I think too, I'll try not to brown nose too much here, but I think it's also a testament to the leadership of the Fort Wayne Golf Association, and not just a testament to Brian's leadership, but I think it speaks to just Fort Wayne's ability to kind of adapt, right? Like, this is a very historic tournament. And it's kind of nice to see that golf leadership in Fort Wayne is not afraid to think outside of the box. Nothing is really off limits. And, so it's just awesome to be a part of it. And like Brandon said, I'll say what he said. I mean, we don't take it for granted, right? So we're going to up our product as a result, and we're honored.
Kind of going through the schedule.
Kind of wanted to continue on some of the things that you said, Phil, if you don't mind, just really quick.
Go ahead.
And then we can go through the schedule for sure. That sounds awesome. Sorry.
Go ahead. Your show, buddy.
Well, when Zach Fitzgerald with Phil Miller, that sounds great.
I'm just messing with you.
I wanted to kind of talk about what I'm having a brain fart now. What Brandon said about the tiers. I know that some of the issues, at least on the net side of the tour, was always handicap issues, things such as that. Wondering if, as a low handicapped person, let's say a 6 to 7 handicap, were you able to compete with somebody who's an 18, who certainly the discrepancy in the score is going to be significantly more than, say, a 7 handicap. So the tier system is really, really nice. I kind of wanted to know what your guys' decision making went into, what the numbers were, why 3 tiers, why not 4, to bring the numbers even tighter. That's a question that personally I have. And then, are there any thoughts ever of going to the GIN handicap system?
Brandon, do you want to
Exclusively?
Yeah. So, okay. So the 3-tier system, honestly, we're all volunteers and we get sponsors. So the sponsors pay for the trophies, and they pay for all of the costs of the tour. If we were to go to 4, that's just going to be more costs on everybody. It was going to up the entry fees, and we don't want to go to a membership fee, which a lot of other amateur tours have. Honestly, in the end, we would like to see 4 flights. But right now, for us to switch to this format on a trial basis, 3 seemed like the most cost effective. Um, but yeah, at the end of the day, we would like to see at least 4 flights, even if we have enough female interest to have a ladies' flight or a senior flight. Um, but I don't want to call it a trial basis, but I mean, we're switching from gross and net to 3 flights, playing gross inside the flights, and we want to see how it goes.
Mhm. And I've
So
heard nothing but positive response from every person on the outside that think that this is a positive move. So I think that's great. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
no, you're okay. I kind of lost my wording, but yeah, I mean, it honestly, this is the most cost effective way to still pay out the maximum amount of Visa gift cards um,
Mhm.
to our winners.
Yeah.
Um,
And
Zach's
then
second part of your, I'm sorry, Zach, but I think you were kind of asking about the methodology of your handicap system within the Three Rivers and not adopting the USGA handicap. What was the decision making process behind that?
So, Brandon, I'll speak on this if you don't mind, and then feel free to correct me or add if I miss anything. But Phil, I think, um, there was discussion. Certainly, like I mentioned, there's lots of discussion, and that was something that we kicked around. Do we just go to your regular USGA index? And the ultimate reason that we did not do that, right, is um, sure, you want to assume that everyone keeps a legitimate handicap. And we all know that as golfers, as long as there's been net golf competition at any club or any association in America, there's always controversy, right? Or perceived controversy on handicaps. So, what we were trying to guard against basically was the guys that go out, on Saturday afternoon by themselves, which they are allowed to do now. The rules of golf permit that. So I'm not accusing anyone of, turning in funky scores, but we really don't have any way, nor does any golf association, any golf club, any tour. We don't really have a true way of policing handicaps. Scores that guys enter from their smartphone now, they can do it from the golf shop. If your club has a handicap kiosk, so we just still feel that by only utilizing your performance in Three Rivers Golf Tour events, we think that that is the most equitable way to run our net divisions. Now, obviously, we don't have the net division anymore. I want to be clear on that. So, for how guys have fit into these divisions, right? We have just taken all the prior Three Rivers Tour performances. But I think by going to the flights, it's going to eliminate. It's going to eliminate. Our goal, at least, is that it will eliminate some of the controversy. Granted, we understand that when you play in this space, right, when you are attempting to do what we do, we're aware that people are going to have opinions on handicaps, on the system that we choose. That's fine, right? Like, we don't attempt to silence anyone's opinion on handicaps. But I think when you go out and play in competitive golf tournaments, obviously you are trying to shoot the best score you can shoot in an effort to finish as high as you can on the leaderboard. So by using only rounds that are played in Three Rivers Tour events, we feel that that provides the most equitable form of competition.
Okay. I That's a really well explained answer, because I was curious about that. Um, going back to last year when I found out about the system. So I appreciate the well thought out answer.
Yeah.
Um,
And what's nice, one thing, and I'm sorry, uh I don't mean to interject, but on our website, if folks go to our website, 3rvrsgolf.com, they can find real-time handicap lists at all times after each event. So like right now we can go, I'm pulling up my phone here. If you go to the menu, the third option, it goes schedule, tour rules, and then tour handicaps. Everyone that has ever played, right, their tour handicap is here and listed. And those are updated. Paul George is our handicap chairman, so to speak. I didn't, he doesn't know that's his title, but that's basically what he is doing.
He's our software chairman.
Yeah, software chairman. There you go. But I think it is neat to be able to go in, like right now, tour handicaps. You can select the touche flight, the golf garage flight, or the golf house flight. And you can see exactly where players are going to fall. So I think from a transparency standpoint on handicapping, that's a really nice feature that I encourage all of our players to check out.
I want to be sure those flights are playing against scratch against each other. Those flights are not handicap playing net against each other, correct? Those three
Correct.
flights are playing a gross tournament against each other in those flights.
Once you are
Is that
inside,
correct?
your handicap only
Correct.
gets you inside a flight, and then it's gross inside each flight.
Roger that.
okay, so my question, and this is, again, I saw that today. I appreciate the transparency. I appreciate in the rules. I'm not a reader, but I did go through the 15 pages of rules, and I did see again the chart, and how many rounds you play within the events and how many scores count. So I think the transparency is excellent. If I'm starting, um, or if I'm playing an event, say I'm playing in the first event and here in a couple weeks, and I don't have any rounds under my belt, where am I placed?
So what happens is you will be required a USGA index, okay?
Okay.
And if let's say it's your first event, you've signed up for the King's John's Open at Brookwood, and it's your first ever Three Rivers Golf Tour event. Before that day, please get a handicap. You can go to indianagolf.org, become a member, or you can go to literally any course in the city, talk to your local golf professional, manager. They can get you a handicap. So what would happen? I'll get to my shtick here. So you would come in and you would get 75% of that index. And based on that, that is which flight you are going to compete in. Now, once you have, Brandon, correct me if I'm wrong, 2 events, right? Once you have 2 events, your USGA index is basically going to go out the window. So we just use that for the first 2 events.
That's correct.
Yeah, I did read that. Again, not a reader. My wife we're like decluttering here in our house. Our kids are 10 and 12, so they're getting bigger. So we're getting rid of everything. And my wife had like 100 books in like this area, and I had one book in the whole like mass of books. And she's like, "This clearly represents that you're not a reader." I'm like, exactly. But I did read the website rules, and that was well explained in there. So anyone, kind of wanting to know more about it, go to the website. Really good info in there. Um,
Mhm.
I'm dying to know on rule number 5, the scoring out of flight and the subject of the sandbagger policy. What is that going to look like? Is that going to come in front of the board if someone, if there's suspicion? How are you guys going to try to police that? Is there any thought on that yet, or is that just kind of take it as it comes?
I'll let Brandon touch on this first.
Can you read me that rule?
Yep. Players who compete in Three Rivers Tour are subject to the Tour Sandbagger Policy. If you return single round scores 4 or more strokes lower than their flight bracket, you will be reviewed for potential scoring fraud by a tribunal composed of the Three Rivers Board. I love that term. Whoever came up with that, great use of the English language.
Mr. Scott Sherman.
Um,
I think we're just going to have to address that across the board members as it comes. I don't see anybody doing that, especially with this format. I think we've kind of, not to perfection, but eliminated the whole like gross and net separation with these flights. So I don't see that being such a big issue this year. But yeah, I mean, if it comes, we'll address it as a board. I don't know how to answer that question.
I think Phil, if I can add one thing, the tribunal efforts, they'll be I'm sure that'll be a tense meeting. But
Like Survivor.
yeah,
yeah,
I might need to do like a live pod during
Oh
those.
heck yeah, we'll contact you.
we might, you know what would be great? It's kind of like, Phil, like what have people talked about with the college football playoff committee? Like, you want to really blow up the rankings? Put a camera in there and let the public watch them decide who makes the playoff. Maybe that's what we do. Maybe we could sell pay-per-view streams. Um, no, I think in all seriousness, the USGA, from when we switched, when we switched, sounds like a dog fight in my backyard. I apologize. Um, when we switched to the World Handicap system, I believe it was 2020 when the rules of golf adopted this new WHS, World Handicap System. One of the new features of the handicap system that I don't think a lot of folks are aware of is something called the exceptional score reduction. And basically, what that exceptional score reduction says is basically committees, golf professionals, handicap committees, whatever, they have the right basically now within the rules to, if you return multiple scores, if it's one score, I don't know exactly the ins and outs of the rule, but there is now sort of a precedent in place to kind of talk through those things. So I think that was just put in there to, again, just ensure that players are receiving the most equitable treatment, right? We don't want to be caught off guard by one player ruining it for everyone. So that's not in there. I don't think that's put in there. It was never meant to be like threatening, rather just kind of a system of checks and balances, so to speak, just to ensure equity and competition.
I don't really have anything else on the handicap system. I think we kind of went down that rabbit hole pretty nicely. Zach, are you good on that?
I am.
Yeah. What else you got there, Fitzgerald?
I think that we should certainly talk about the schedule. I was looking over that before we got on here. Obviously, Brookwood coming up on March 23rd. Brookwood's always in good shape early on. I know that my dad played out there. I think he said earlier last week, and he said that the course is in fantastic condition already. So I'm sure that's exciting. After that, on April 13th, you have Cherry Hill, which my personal hope is that it's warm enough by then for me to play. After that, it looks like you guys have McMillan for Little City, which is going to be on May 4th and May 5th. Probably we'll get some players in that tournament that the Three Rivers Tour has not ever seen play on the Three Rivers Tour. So that's also exciting. Also, it will help influx kind of Little City that's been dwindling over the last few years with some of the Three Rivers Tour players that it so direly needs. Phil, do you want to talk about any of these? Do you guys want to talk about these, or do you just want me to go through these?
Yeah, we could pause. I want to this Brookwood event. I think on the schedule you actually have it marked for the 23rd or the 30th. I assume weather dependent, right? If we could get a
Yeah,
day like we
the
had,
23rd's the main date. 30th is the backup date.
so obviously we hope we have a day like we had today. Next Saturday, a week from Saturday. Kind of what I think one of you talked about earlier is kind of returning to some of these courses that have been with you from the beginning. I know Brookwood's been one of those from early on. I know Cherry Hill's been there. Um, Bridgewater, Glendarren Hills. I know that these are courses that you guys frequent, year to year. You want to talk about just some of that relationship building and what that's taken to kind of have these courses be a mainstay on the schedule year to year?
Yeah, I think it's just that, Phil. I think it's relationships like anything. I think you know, looking through Brookwood, I mean, I'm not going to rehash everything that you just said, but we've always tried to sort of pay tribute to golf courses sometimes that might not have a lot of fanfare, but have supported the game of golf for a long, long time in our community. So courses like what the Rileys do at Colonial Oaks. Colonial Oaks is always in nice shape. I think the thing that really is exciting to me is moving our tour championship to Garrett Country Club. I think um, Dave and Amy at Garrett and their entire team, they genuinely look forward to hosting us. And Garrett's very busy. Like the improvements that they have made, um, literally from playing surfaces to their indoor golf that they've added to all of the investment they've made in the clubhouse and in their patio. Like Garrett Country Club is an awesome place, and it's really a neat partnership for us and Garrett, just because they are genuinely excited. And that's not to say that other courses aren't excited to host us, but I think Dave and Amy really truly enjoy hosting the Three Rivers Tour. So we couldn't be more excited to take the tour championship there. Um, and another thing really quickly here, back at Eagle Glen, I know Rick Scholand and his team have recently taken over Eagle Glen. We've heard nothing but great things um, going on up at Eagle Glen. Of course, Glendarren. We've been away from Glendarren for a year or two, but we're excited to get them back. Of course, Aaron and Tom at RiverBend. What else can you say? Um, but I think one point on this schedule, one thing that we wanted to do this year was to kind of get back to our roots in one day tournaments, right? We
Yep.
played around a little bit with multiple day events in years past, um, always seemingly adding maybe one or two more 2 days. And we're proud that, the little city being the 50th playing, I think that's a tried and true 36 hole event. So that will be our only 36 hole event. Everything else, we're back to 18 holes. We kind of looked, in an effort to simplify things, uh, sometimes like the old saying goes, less is more. And I think we're good at 1 day, 18 hole events. So that's what we wanted to do.
And I think, there's obviously that probably temptation, right? To just, push it to 2 days. But I think a lot of the attraction of the Three Rivers Tour over the years has been that 1 day, because it doesn't, for people that have families and kids, Zach, you're not part of this conversation, but have a lot of going on, and there's a lot of activities, and to take up a whole weekend, well, it can get you maybe in trouble with the wife and all that. So I think the 1 day events have that allure, and it's a really nice niche for you guys. Just kind of speaking off the cuff. Um, I'm interested. Is there, when you're kind of going through the schedule, any thought of like any team events, 2-man events, kind of best ball, 2-man scramble, anything like that you guys have thrown around? Either one of you want to answer that?
I think that's why we left that 10th event open.
Okay.
Have something in the fall. Um, I I don't know. There was maybe some talks about a Ryder Cup with the FWGA, but I don't know how far that's gotten. So we kind of left the fall season open for something like that, a 2-man or a team event or a 2-man scramble.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes.
yes, there's talks.
Okay. Zach?
I mean, I guess we can continue going through the schedule. On those first three, I don't have anything other than, I do enjoy the 1-day tournaments, but I do hope that Little City always remains a 36-hole tournament. That's the one that
It will.
I hope
Yeah,
always remains a 36
that's
hole.
the only way to do that tournament.
So moving forward in the schedule, we have Bridgewater on June 1st. Is Bridgewater, you guys have played there previously, am I correct?
Yes,
But did you play
we
there
have.
last year?
Yeah.
I don't.
know we did not play there last year, Zach. I know, Ivan has always been willing. A lot of times when we are putting together the schedule, we talked to a lot of golf pros, kind of kicking around the idea, trying to figure out what works for our schedule. Not only that, how our events fit in the greater scheme, right? The grander scheme of Fort Wayne golf. We try not to position our events. Let's just put it this way. We try and position our events strategically, but ultimately what ends up happening too is all of these courses have their staple events that are on the schedule, whether they are charity scrambles, member events. So it doesn't always work out to where we can just duplicate the schedule year after year, but I think every year we have talked with Ivan, and we try and work out a date. He does a great job, and again, that's a golf course similar to Garrett. If you're on the north side of town, like it's not far at all, but they get a lot of play, I think, from up north. Guys from the Angola, Fremont, Kendallville areas might come down. And granted, they get a lot of play from Fort Wayne as well, but it's just a course that's not always, I guess, on the forefront of folks' minds.
Oh yeah, it's a golf course that me personally I really like, and I can only imagine that. I believe Chris won multiple events on the tour last year. He's a member there, so Chris Schweitzer is probably extremely excited to be there and try to take the home win. Moving forward from that one, looks like you have Glendarren on June 29th. That normally falls more in the September to October, so kind of interesting to see that more in the June time. Probably going to see a little bit different golf course. Anyone
Yeah,
want to add on to Glendarren?
Yeah,
I'll
I
just
think.
go ahead,
Go ahead.
Brandon.
I was gonna because we moved Garrett to host our tour championship. I think that's why that shuffled that around in June.
Yeah, I would just really quickly, Zach, you bring up a great point. I know you're pretty familiar with Glendarren Hills as well. I mean, that golf course is meant to be played firm and fast, and when it's soft, it changes things drastically up there. But being able to play that in June, kind of the heat of the summer, the greens are going to be flying, the ball is going to be bouncing around in the fairways. Like if guys want a good test, go up and play Glendarren late June, early July, and you're still not going to find. It's just a really unique place. Like what Glenn does up there is awesome, and it's a phenomenal golf course when it plays as it was meant to be played. Kind of that firm, fast track. So I'm really, really excited for that one.
Phil, you want to add anything?
No, I love Glendarin. I went to school up in Angola, getting to play it a few times, and not in the last few years, but yeah, Mark said it well. Fantastic golf course, and I love firm and fast. The challenge of summer golf when it's hard to figure out how to keep the ball on the green. Much like RiverBend's our next event in July. I know that's sort of a staple for you guys, and around that time frame as well. Sponsored by the Golf Garage, so I know that's been a couple years running, hasn't it?
Yeah, yeah. The golf garage. We try and do the best we can for our sponsors to try and pair up each sponsor with a tournament that provides them, kind of a sense of added value. And I know what the golf garage has done since its inception. Not only is it in close proximity to Riverbend, a lot of crossover. Obviously, the golf garage has their own following, but a lot of the Riverbend guys golf garage is kind of their hangout. So it's a great partnership for us. In the golf course, like you said, at Riverbend, very similar to the relationship we have with Garrett Country Club. Like Tom has any and every event that he wants, right? Like anybody. I mean, Riverbend is kind of the place to be right now. Whether you're a good player, whether you are running if you sit on the board of a nonprofit and you want a great location for your corporate outing, they have got people literally lining up to play that place. But we feel very fortunate to have a good relationship where Tom gives us one of his primetime dates, and he doesn't take it for granted. I mean, he prepares the golf course great day in, day out, regardless of what he has. But for a guy like that, that's been a part of major championship venues, right? Setting up golf courses and having that expertise. It's really fun to bring a Three Rivers Tour event to Riverbend in July, and that's a place that that was on our. It's always kind of a staple. It's like I shouldn't say we start with Riverbend, but we know, right, that's going to kind of be in the middle of the season. So it's like, okay, what do we add on prior to that, and what do we do after that? But we know, bam, that's where we're getting Riverbend.
I remember
Talking of
Oh, sorry, Zach. I remember, you talk about Riverbend, the place to be for local events. I think Straley was on last year talking about the schedule, and there was 3 Riverbend events, and there was the 5-man, there was the Midsummer, I think it was the Summit City. When I think we jokingly had a podcast after that said that the U.S. Open broke out at Riverbend, and then the 2-man, I think that was in August. So I think I jokingly told Brian, I'm like, is this the Fort Wayne Golf Association presented by Riverbend? But yeah, he had, he kind of uttered the same thing, the same sentiment that you just said, that, Tom and Aaron are great to work with, and really willing to just be a part of the local golf scene. So yeah, awesome job to those guys. Zach, I'm sorry I cut you off.
No, I was just going to say that I can tell you, as somebody who's been a member of Riverbend for many years, we are excited as members to host all these events and to have Tom try to showcase the golf course in whatever way he feels necessary. So we do take a lot of pride in it, and we are always happy when the events come up. And I think that we as members bring a lot of people to play in the events a lot of the time too. So I think that we show up. So yeah, always a fun time at that. And Tom normally has the courts playing difficult. You normally hate yourself after the round. So,
Not that Tom needed to make the course any more difficult, but those new tees are going to be sick when they're done.
Yeah, looks really cool out there.
Yeah, I played it today, Zach. Brandon and I played, and yeah, some of those tees on the back nine, like the 13th is going to change drastically, and to have that alternate tee on 14, again, I don't want to get off subject, but it's just cool to see a local course like as good at what I told Brandon. As good as the golf economy is right now, like I don't think anybody is going to judge a golf course ownership group if they just kind of continue putting out a solid product and sort of collecting money, right? But that is like the opposite of what's going on at RiverBend. It's not ever it's never about like, hey, let's just keep things as they are, let's just enjoy status quo, enjoy good playing conditions. It's like, no, let's go on offense, let's press on the gas, and let's build new tee boxes and improve in different ways. So yeah, I was blown away by the amount of work, how much dirt they're moving out there.
I mean, I think on that, that's really like, on a lot of situations, like right place, right time. So that church over there is adding an auditorium. So they needed to dig out a lot of stuff for the basement. So, they offered Tom all that dirt. And when you're offered all that dirt as a golf course, what do you do with it? And you build tee boxes, you do renovations, and just worked out. And, he did a lot of stuff over the winter time, and certainly a lot more work to do. But uh, you can see the bones, at least, of what it's going to become once all that's done, and it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, and really quick, by the way, just not that anybody's concerned about it, but like for any of your listeners, guys that haven't been out there, this dirt's not like in the way, like the way the cart paths are routed. Like 14, there was a little cut out through the dirt, so it does not impact the playing experience. I think more than anything, I think when guys get out to RiverBend for the first time this season, they're going to just have the same reaction that we're discussing, right? Like, wow, this is going to be awesome when it gets but it's still, here it was March 12th, and playing surfaces were great.
All right, well, I guess moving forward in the schedule, unless anybody else has anything to expand on that. Nope. All right. Looks like we have Eagle Glen, which I did not know it was under new ownership. That's exciting. It's always a layout that I have really enjoyed. So to hear that is awesome. I never thought that it was in bad shape to begin with, but if you, Mark, who's been in the industry for a really, really long time, is excited about it, I'll take your opinion on it and be excited as well. So, that's a tournament that's going to come after City. My question for you, as always, do you find that there's a drop in that tournament's attendance just due to, say, some fatigue, people taking breaks from the City tournament?
Yeah, I think that's a yeah, to answer your question, like there's no reason to like attempt to spin anything. I think the men's city championship, when from this first event, right, that we are going to play in a week and a half at Brookwood, to the 5-man, like everything golf in the city, like if you are a competitive player in Fort Wayne, in Northeast Indiana, like everything is about those 3 days in August, right? Like that is the pinnacle. That is our major championship. That's our US Open, Masters, British, and PGA wrapped into one, right? So naturally, there is going to be a little bit of fatigue. Not that anybody in Fort Wayne is playing in the men's city championship to make 4.8 million or whatever the winner's going to pocket this week at Sawgrass. But that tournament is stressful, right? And it's the good kind of stress that as golfers, folks, players love to build up to it, right? You see the ranges are busier that week, and putting greens are busier, and guys are the chatter, who's playing well, who's not playing well, who do you like, who do you not like. That tournament's so unique. So it's like you heard Tiger talk about, and a lot of guys, for instance, right? The week after Augusta every year, the tour goes down to Harbor Town, and they almost look at it as like a vacation, right? It's like we can finally exhale and we can just let our guard down, because Augusta National is such, like Tiger referred to it as the ultimate think tank, right? And in Fort Wayne, man, the city's that way. It's the only 54 hole event. Emotions run high, tempers run hot. So yes, to answer your question, Zach, I think there's always going to be a little bit of a fall off after the city. But the way we choose to look at it is, hey, certain guys will play the city and have really encouraging results, and their games will be rounding into form in August. We still think it's important to, provide competitive opportunities after city, because, everybody peaks at a different time of the year. Everybody's kind of in their own little bubble. So, we've never, just kind of speaking on a larger point, we've never really, the word I'll choose to use is obsessed. We've never obsessed over our field sizes. Of course, we like it when the tournaments are well attended. But we're not going to change our process based on where a tournament's located in our calendar, right? Like, we're still going to show up. Hey, if we get 20 guys, great. I can promise you that 20 guys that show up will tee it up and they'll have a good time, and there'll be some winners that leave very happy. Do we hope for 60, 80 players? Of course we do, but I don't really, this is something that Trent and I talked about. This is kind of not a private conversation, but I recall back to year one, and I'm not just singling out Trent, but there was a lot of conversation about, hey, what do we need to do to grow numbers? What do we need to do to grow numbers? Like, over and over. And I think patience, right? Patience is key. And I think if we just continue to do things, attempt at least to do things the right way, and provide these events consistently, I think the participation will continue to rise. But I digress. I mean, obviously you asked if I was concerned about a drop off. Yes, I think city takes a lot out of folks. So it's not uncommon to see lower numbers that time of year.
Yeah, I wouldn't be concerned about it. I mean, I think it's natural. I was just asking if over time, through the years you've had it, have you noticed that? I think it's only natural. I think it's certainly going to. But I mean, going to a course like Eagle Glen, I think a lot of people like the layout. It's unique. It provides somewhat of a kind of linksy uh, aspect to golf that we don't get around here a lot of times. So,
Little bit of a Noble Hawk feel is what I've always thought, Zach. Like,
sure, the front of Noble Hawk,
yeah, in
sure,
the sense
yeah,
that,
yeah.
both golf courses, the front, they've got a good mix of open linksy holes, and then you get up to Noble Hawk Man and you're hit on that 10th tee box, and you get 10, 11, and 12 that are different, right? And same thing at Eagle Glen, 10, 11, 12. I heard there were some changes at number 12, the tight par 4. I heard rumor was there was a new tee box built. But then you get 13 and 14 that go back out towards Highway 30. So it's a neat, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's a neat layout.
14's a brutal hole, like just a brutal driving hole.
Yeah.
It's just insane. Moving forward, you have Colonial Oaks on September 8th. A course that, as you said, does not always get the fanfare, but I know multiple members there who are been members for years, who absolutely are treated fantastic by ownership there. They have multiple events that you see on Facebook throughout the year. By all accounts, everybody out there is extremely happy, and the golf course, uh, most of the times that I've played, has been in great condition, and the only time it wasn't, I wouldn't say it was in bad condition. It just got torrentially downpoured on for about a week before that. And I don't know that most golf courses could really handle that. Kudos to them on that to even have the tournament, to be honest with you. After that, we go to Garrett, which I couldn't tell you how excited I was to see this move to this week from where it was. It always seemed like Garrett got the shaft because it would always rain for days before that tournament. And I don't ever feel like Garrett, which is one of my favorite little gym golf courses around here, ever got to truly show what it was, because it was always so wet, just so wet out there. So to have that as uh, the tour championship, I think is really cool, especially the guys who have played multiple years in that tournament do know how the owners do treat the tour. They truly are exactly like Mark says, where like they are proud to have the tournament out there, and you really can't ask any more of a golf course. So, uh, anything on that we didn't previously speak about, or Phil, have you ever played Garrett?
I have not played Garrett, but I've heard. I know you've mentioned it to me and some others that have said it is really a good little course and it's an up and comer around the area. So cool that you guys have built this to what it is and now your tour championship. So I think it kind of works both ways, right? Like good for them and good for you guys for kind of rewarding them with this spot on the schedule. Brandon, were you going to say something?
Yeah, just going off of what you said, it's a nod to them because they have treated us so well year after year. Our turnout's usually pretty good there, but I mean, even last year, I think they added tee times to because there was so much interest. And year after year, it's soaking wet. But honestly, this year is going to be a completely different monster. I think playing it in September.
Yeah.
For me,
And
I
then
think about that. Sorry,
no,
I
you're
think
good.
about I think about the back nine in non-wet conditions, and I think about the tee shot on 10 is extremely difficult, especially if that fairway's hard running. If you go a little bit to the right or a little bit to the left, you're in trouble. That tree comes into play on the second shot. Uh, 12 is such a great hole. I've seen guys drive it over that green on their drives and make six because that green is just insane. And normally we play it in wet conditions. So, to play that in firm conditions is going to be extremely fun. Yeah, I really, really like that course. It's one of those golf courses that I had driven past a bunch of times. I think I played when I was younger. And then the first time I played it was in one of the Three Rivers tournaments. And I just remember the entire time being like, I really, really like this golf course. Uh, and ever since then, it's been one of the events that I've circled uh, on the Three Rivers event because no other tour goes up there and plays. And uh, yeah, it's a place I really, really do enjoy. I'm very, very glad that they got the tour championship. That's super, super cool for them. I know that it means probably a lot to them. So
And
that's
no,
awesome.
I know in most years prior, we've seen some super low scores there, but I'll be interested to see what the scores are like come September.
Yeah. And just along, I was actually Brandon, something that I was going to mention. I think, Zach, you hit the nail on the head. That date has always been, if I'm not mistaken, that's always been in May and, late April, early May. And seemingly like clockwork, we get literally like 2 inches of rain the day before. And Dave routes carts, like he'll have a wet area and he'll say, hey, we're still going to play it. We're going to route carts, going down one. We got to drive up 9. Like he does all of his homework on that end. But to your point, Brandon, I think, I know Rory for the longest time had the tour scoring record. I think he had 64 or 5 there. And it's a golf course that, when it's wet, I'm certainly, I don't believe in certain things as easy golf courses. I think you can make bogeys on any hole you play, right? But when that golf course is wet, guys can fire at pins. It's not a golf course that's going to ever beat you up in length. So putting driver wedges into the best players' hands in Northeast Indiana, like they're going to shoot scores there. What I think though, moving that tour championship, it almost has a little bit of a little city feel to me, in that I think what makes the little city championship so special is that there's literally probably, I don't know what, 30 guys that if everything goes right can win that thing. And that's not the case at, not that anything negative about it, but that's not the case at Autumn Ridge or at Coyote Creek or at Sycamore Hills, right? I think most golf courses fit a very specific player profile. And I think the cool thing about Garrett, you can win around that track in a lot of different ways. And I think we'll see that. I think that'll be on display at our Tour Championship.
Well, I beat Rory at McMillan last year, so just
Claim to fame. Yes. I love that point, Mark, and that's why I've always liked the Little City, and the Little City traditionally in June, where it is playing a little firmer and faster, and it's always been usually around par. Historically, if you look back at the results, and it's amazing at this, par 65 golf course with a ton of short holes, ton of, couple drivable par fours because of just the way it played. Um, I just always appreciated that tournament and that course for what it was, and again, I haven't played Garrett, but it sounds like there's at least that same kind of vibe there, where it brings in a lot more of the field, and I think that's pretty exciting for your Tour Championship, where it literally maybe half the field would have potential of having that that day for them that would to end the season. So I think that's pretty cool. What else, Zach? We're about an hour in, boys.
Yeah, I don't really have any more questions, just comments. I think that this has kind of already been implied, but I've gone through the website here in the last couple days, and actually over, the last couple months, and the website is fantastically done. It's very informative. It's very easy to use. It looks extremely professional. The website is fantastic. That's just one of the comments that I wanted to make. Aside from that, I think that one of the main reasons for the success of your tournament has always been exclusivity. I think that you guys gave a lot of guys those years ago an outlet for competitive golf when they didn't feel comfortable playing on the Fort Wayne Golf Association, because it was kind of, the Fort Wayne Golf Association is always been looked at as kind of more of a mainly gross tournament, and you guys gave a lot of people that are more what you would call like net tournament players and outlet, and I think that a lot of them have garnered friendships, and it's really really cool to see all the people on your guys's posts talking trash to each other and seeing a lot of the same names. So I think kudos to all you guys on that. I know that obviously there's been some trials and tribulations throughout the years, just like any other organization. You guys have people that are saying things to you, throwing ideas, you should do this, you should do that, and I think you guys as a group have pretty much stuck to your guns, and I'm extremely excited to see what the tier system done, because I do think that eliminates what I think to me personally was kind of the glaring issue that you guys had on the tour was uh, it's just really really difficult on the net side for somebody who's a lower net player to beat an 18 handicapper who has a larger variance of score. When you see people shooting net 63, that's really hard for a 7 handicap to do. So I just wanted to say kudos. I think that it always has moved in a positive direction, and it's continuing to move in a positive direction, and me as a player and as a friend of most of you, I couldn't be more excited for you guys.
Well, yeah, thanks, Zach. Like there's not a whole lot to add. I think the only thing that I will add, we were discussing in the group text a few weeks back. Like just to your point, giving folks a place to play that may not feel like they're ready for the show, so to speak, with the show being the Fort Wayne Golf Association, which that's the fact. And we tried to obviously provide a forum for the best players in the area to still compete, but at the same time, we at one time or another, to varying degrees, have all been obsessed with tournament golf, right? Because it's fun. And I think to share that with people who may not have had that experience, or they might not have felt that rush, what it's like to have your back against the wall, and whether that's make 3 straight birdies for a player like you, or whether that's to make 3 straight pars down the stretch, or maybe go bogey par, and just any sort, the level of emotion that you feel in a competitive golf round, right? The best players are the ones that don't ride the wave of emotion, but whether you show it on the outside or not, if the best players in the world say that they're nervous wrecks, we're nervous wrecks. Even playing in the King's John's Open, credit to King's John's for any porta potty needs in town. But I think the point is,
Uh,
it's just a different feel. It's a different feel versus like your Tuesday night men's league round. So it has been unique. And one thing that you touched on too, like the relationships, like, yeah, we've gotten to know these people, but it's cool to see the friendships that have built from the Three Rivers Golf Tour. People that play now together on a Saturday morning game that may not have ever had the opportunity to meet each other. Like we're kind of creating, um, you know, giving guys a forum to meet new people and to enjoy this. So the last thing I want to say, and then I'll be quiet here. You had mentioned the website. Again, credit, that's all Nielsen Design and Photography. Trent put together the website. You're correct, Zach. It is in a very professional website. Uh, I'd be remiss if I didn't. Phil, if I can, I don't know if you have any uh, corporate partnerships that you'll get in trouble. Can I mention a couple sponsors, or is that now not the time?
you do your thing, Mark.
I just wanted to be sure. But like I said, we've been very fortunate to work with a lot of these same corporate partners since we began this. So first and foremost, Indiana Physical Therapy, our title sponsor. This year, we have flight sponsors, Performance Golf, of course, Golf Garage, Golf House, and then Player of the Year sponsor, new Apex Golf Lab. Thanks to Quinn and his guys for jumping on. And then we've got great event sponsors. King's John's, Wrigley Field, of course, Brunner's Pub will be the presenting sponsor for the 50th playing of the Little City. Salsa Grill, Golf Garage, Noack Supply, Skyline Chili, Jeff Grothaus. He's been a longtime supporter of the tour. Scott Pieri Golf and his golf suites at Mitchell's. He's jumping on. And then, of course, Zesto at St. Joe Village. Preferred Auto is a new sponsor this year. Preferred Auto obviously has a rich history of supporting golf in the Summit City. So we're proud of that partnership. And then another new one, Lace Barber Company, and then of course Blue Moon in Garrett, Indiana. So again, I know I don't want to force that, but I think it is important just to do whatever we can. These corporate partners have kind of supported us, and not only supported us, they've supported golf in the community. So the least we can do is just thank them for their support. And that's why I wanted to mention that. Of course, our website, we have a sponsor link. I encourage all the players from time to time as you're checking, whether it's leaderboards or checking to see what your handicap is, take a peek at that sponsors page because they do provide us an opportunity to do what we do. So thank you.
That was excellent. Congrats on you guys putting together the season ahead. I know that's a huge undertaking, and now you get to enjoy the fruits of your labors, right? And kind of see how this all plays out. Let's touch base. Somewhere down the road this season, have you guys back on and see how things are going. Mark, Brandon, thanks for coming on, guys, and discussing the tour. And excited for the season ahead.
Yep. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, thanks, Phil. Thanks, Zach.
Thank you, Zach.
Gentlemen, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks to you too, Zach, as well.
Yeah, thanks to you.
As
Always.
always. All right, guys, your best bets. Catch this episode on YouTube sometime this week. It could be as early as Wednesday as this comes up. Podcasts on Spotify and Apple. If you hadn't, catch our players preview that we put out this morning as well. And if you're catching up and you're bored, listen to Tim and I's review of 10 Cup from a couple weeks ago. It's fantastic. Fun season ahead for local golf. It's just getting started here. So again, thanks for listening to the show. We'll catch you next time.